Let's see. How's everybody today? We've been doing a lot of Skype work. This has turned into a monstrous thing that I really never expected it to be. So I want to say hi to my Skype patients from all over the world. I have YouTube patients now that we have Skyped with, and it's been amazing to deal with people in different countries. The internet is an incredible thing. People are watching these lectures everywhere, and it's kind of funny. Can I tell you a secret? The farther away the patients are, the faster they get better. You guys that live next to me whine constantly. It's people in New Zealand. The results we've had have shocked me. It's something strange about that, but my father came to the first lecture since my mother's passing, so he's here with his first lecture. This lecture, Kelly and I sat and talked about Christmas. Memorable patient cases. I don't think this you would actually think was going to be like a comedy lecture, because to tell you the stories from the 33 years, which I started my 33rd year on Monday, the stories that we have thought it's going to be, this is going to be an interesting lecture. Christmas will be interesting, I guarantee you. Now let me ask you a question. How many people know somebody with colon cancer? Everybody that knows somebody, raise your hand. Anybody that knows somebody with colon? How many are dead? How many know somebody? My cousin, cousin Wayne, died from colon cancer. My cousin, I have 4 lumberjack relatives in Vanderbilt. One of them died of colon cancer. Wayne, the oldest, his colon was a mess forever. And he was a tough guy. I have a story for you. How many of you knew that Ronald Reagan had cancer when he was in the office? Ronald Reagan had cancer. Ronald Reagan, when he found out he had colon cancer, they offered him chemo and radiation. He didn't want to do it. He turned it down. He went to Germany. In Germany, Hans Nieper, how many people take the supplement magnesium orotate? That's Hans Nieper's pill. He was the one that used the orotates, and many of the patients that had MS went to Germany, and they basically got magnesium orotate to help decalcify their scarred spinal cords. So President Reagan went to Hans Nieper. This would have been front page news, but they hushed it up to time. So imagine if the American public knew a sitting president wanted a German treatment. He wanted nothing to do with American medicine. The Germans have an interesting treatment that you don't know about. My cousin didn't know about it. He died. They cook the cancer cells to death. You go into a hospital. This is a medical hospital. They raise your body temperature from 105 to 107 degrees for 6 hours. They do it once a week. Cancer cooks out of the body. He had, I think, 4 treatments, once a week for 4 weeks. They said it was the price of a small economy car at the time. And none of you knew that while he was running for president. That's how he did it. It was picked up, it was discovered in 1868 by chance, but it was rediscovered in the 1990s with this lady, I don't know, it was a man or a woman, and what they had was, she had a terrible cancer on her face. And she got a fever, like 105, for like 2 weeks. That had nothing to do with the cancer. And when the fever was gone, the cancer was gone. And they wondered, is that what killed the cancer? I'm afraid to tell you this because people aren't that bright outside of this room. In this room, I'm dealing with geniuses, and I know I am because I know a lot of you. This is the rest of them out there. The fever therapy lasts about 6 hours, and cancer patients receive the therapy once a week. It not only cooks the tumor to death, but also kills cancer cells that have spread elsewhere in the body. Now, they went on to say, ask your doctor if you can do this, because somebody's going to put their dog or something in the car. This is as simple as sitting in a hot car for 15 minutes a day, keeping yourself well hydrated, and park the car in the sun. If you throw the dog in the car or something, they're going to arrest you. And I want you to ask your doctors, because I'm not really sure some of my patients would be bright enough to get out of the car. I'm going to really get it. Sure you are. The Germans have been using hyperthermia treatment for years. And they haven't told you about that, have they? No. I have to repeat this at this mineral lecture. The USA Today had an interesting article, The Mysterious Absence of Jerry Lewis. Well, Jerry Lewis found out that muscular dystrophy was a mineral deficiency. He found out all about that. He was presented with all the literature, so he took all the literature, and he presented it to the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Look, this isn't a genetic disease. I've raised $1 billion for nothing. This is a deficiency, and it's already been cured in the animals. So they fired him. So Jerry Lewis disappeared a couple years ago, and there's been no explanation why he disappeared. He was fired because he found out the truth, that the animals don't have muscular dystrophy because they were cured. This is a can of worms waiting to open up. She is a loaded gun about vaccinations after what happened to her children. Now, if this is special for you patients, this is special. They're scared to death that she's going to talk about vaccinations. She has been lambasted in the press. They wanted nothing to do with her on that show. Nothing. How many people saw the articles in the paper? They wanted to get rid of her. The media wanted her gone because she's going to talk. And if they ever have a call-in show and you want to really stir the pot, she is a big fan of my autoimmune lecture. And she has Twittered that lecture all over Hollywood. And I'm going to tell you, you get on that show and you mention my lecture, and if she starts talking, I think Lou's going to have to start my car for the rest of my life. That's why I keep you around, Lou. She's been a real supporter. And when I watched her on Larry King years ago, long before my lecture, the viral half of the story she didn't understand. She did a great 50% story. She didn't have the half that I taught. Nobody had the half that I talked about. So you get that autoimmune lecture out, and you get her to talk about that, and I'm going to tell you the screen would probably go black if she started to talk about it. It would disturb their soul. This is in today's paper. Do you know what it's like to deal with a public that's completely scared to death about everything? They're scared to death about everything. The Al-Qaeda, the bird flu, the dog flu, everything. Look what they're doing to you at the airport. It's just getting worse. Okay. This was in today's paper. I just stick this in this. Anybody see this article in the paper? Yep. So here's this Detroit area oncologist. The stuff they've done to you people with a lump, a spot, a hair, a cyst. I watch them killing you all off in pieces and paying $1 million to do it. And you feel like you got something, you got a deal because it was a free death. So then in your obituary, they put down, fought a gallant battle with cancer, please make donations payable to the people that did this to me. So here's this in today's paper. This is the best care anywhere. There are 6 locations to serve you: Clarkston, Bloomfield Hills, Troy, Oak Park, Rochester, Lapeer, and Sterling Heights. This is his disrespectful name. He's 48 years old. He's accused of submitting fraudulent claims to Medicare. Well, that's not bad. Most of the doctors do that. Everybody. I mean, your doctors have sliding billing scales. I have one scale for all of you. You might not like it. It's the way it is. The insurance companies, you, the poor, the rich, it's all the same. My office does. So when you see how busy I am, that's what it's like to make honest money. These are the guys that make different kinds of money. So not only was it fraudulent claims in Medicare and falsifying documents and telling others to do it, he did medically unnecessary services, including chemo, positron emission tomography scans, and a variety of cancer and hematology treatments for patients who did not need them. He only got away with $35 million in unnecessary chemo treatments. The complaint further alleges that Dr. Fatah directed the administration of unnecessary chemo to patients in remission, deliberate misdiagnosis of patients as having cancer to justify unnecessary cancer treatment, administration of chemotherapy to end-of-life patients who will not benefit from the treatment, deliberate misdiagnosis of patients without cancer to justify unnecessary hematology treatments, fabrication of other diagnoses, such as anemia and fatigue, to justify unnecessary treatments, and distribution of controlled substances to patients without medical necessity. He was voted Best Oncologist Doctor in Our magazine, 2008, 9, 10, and 11. The first patient this morning, Cindy, said to me, he killed my pastor's wife and he killed another woman at my church. The first patient today said he killed 2 of them. Did you see that article in the paper? I said, Kelly, I saw this in the morning. You got to put this in the lecture. He just thumped 2 of the church people. Get these guys $400,000 in debt. Get them $300,000 in debt. Get them $500,000 in debt. I just had a Dr. Simone, I just had a dentist, a dad come in. My daughter just got out of dental school. Really? What does she want to do? You'll appreciate this. She wants to have babies and be a dentist. I said, well, how much is she in debt? $339,000. And she hasn't started yet. This is just what she said. She doesn't own a drill, not the chair. $339,000. She's 29 years old. You're going to be schlepped. I think everybody needs a bridge. I think you all got to have a bridge and a crown. Bridges and crowns for everybody. So you get them in debt far enough, and maybe some of these questionable dudes just might slide the wrong way. Those Costco vitamins that everybody brings in, you will understand this later, synthetic vitamin C kills the good bacteria in your gut. This will become very important farther in the lecture. It doesn't just wipes out the bacteria, the good and bad. This will become very important. The ascorbic acid now is coming from corn syrup, so not only does it strip your gut, it's GMO-based. Cataplex C. You know, when I was a kid, everything that was good for me tasted lousy. Everything we ate tasted good. Right, Ron? Bologna sandwiches, old-fashioned loaf. So that's what vitamin C really is made from. Buckwheat seed, nutritional yeast. This is everything. I'm not really going to eat anything, so I'd probably rather take that pill. I hope this lady doesn't get mad. One of my wealthier patients from Birmingham came in. She's actually in today. She's just a delightful person. Why is it that my richest patients feed their kids Flintstone vitamins? So I had to get my Flintstone vitamins. So most of the things in Flintstones they call hazardous substances in Europe. Paula Deen. She used the N-word 30 years ago. 30 years ago. I'm so tired of this racial stuff they're stirring up amongst the people. I had a special story for you that I wanted to tell, and I ran this by the office, and they said, tell it. They took a little iPad, and they went to those tribes in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. These were the tribes that have never seen anybody. They got the, you know, the thing hanging from their ear. They got the white. They got the plate through their lip. They make clicks and sounds and weird little noises, right? They'd never seen anybody, ever. So they'd film them on an iPad, how they talked, how they spoke, what they wore. They went to the next tribe. They filmed 9 tribes. They'd never seen anybody. They don't know what's normal. So they took this little iPad from each one of these unreached tribes, and they showed the other tribe what they looked like. And you know what they did? They made fun of them. They thought it was the funniest, and they looked just as ridiculous as they looked. Instead of a stripe here, they had a stripe there. Instead of a plate through their ear, they had one through their nose. They laughed at the noises they made. They didn't even know to do this, because they'd never done this before. Human nature has troubles with things that aren't like us. So as they continue to stir this pot, do not fall for it. How many people, to use one of those stories, saw Dr. Ben Carson on the National Prayer Breakfast Day? Did anybody see that? How many people heard that? Well, Obama thought, you know, I get Ben in here, he's going to watch my back. I know he's going to watch my back. Well, he didn't watch Obama's back. He told the truth. By the time he got done, Obama was completely stressed out. Michelle sat and clapped happily, and he did a smackdown on the president. He's an honest, that's the guy. So after that, what did the press say? Oh, Ben Carson for president. He's the head of Johns Hopkins Pediatric Neurosurgery Department. He's the first guy to successfully separate Siamese twins. He's a brilliant surgeon from the streets of Detroit. And when he got through with the president, he ate his lunch at the National Prayer Breakfast Day. I would encourage you to watch the video because people were totally, thoroughly impressed with this guy. Number one. Number two, if you like that guy, I have a homeschooling project for your kids. Military people, if you want to, you know, they started this. You can't say God or Jesus in the military. You can't pray. You know, we're trying a Christian nation. Freedom of religion for all is going by the wayside now. So if you want to know what it's like to have a guy in your unit that would pray, you watch The Conscientious Objector. This guy was famous, Desmond Doss. It's on YouTube. This is the man who wouldn't carry a gun. And you watch what it's like when they made fun of him, when they teased him. He was the bravest. He saved 57 men's lives, and the men that he made fun of had to thank him because when he went out in the battlefield, you watch what this guy did, the hair will stand up on the back of your neck because nobody could do what he did. And he was a humble, God-fearing man, cut out of the same cloth as Ben Carson. And then I want you to watch him interview the Japanese on Hacksaw Ridge. They're going to interview the old Japanese. And they're going to sit and tell you, I could shoot everybody on the field but him. My gun jammed every single time I aimed at him. I couldn't even shoot him. He rescued all the men on Hacksaw Ridge. I would encourage you to watch that. And he's cut out of the same hunk of cloth as Ben Carson. And these men came from this. Coming 9/30/2013. It's going to be a big seminar in the Detroit area. That's what inspired those two men. And if any questions, Dr. Lou in the back can help you out. Start saving your money, because Obamacare might be $20,000 a family. Save your money, about $20,000 a family. Anybody want a colonoscopy from the IRS? Anybody had a colonoscopy from the IRS? So we're going to put the IRS in charge of Obamacare. Then the IRS is trying to get out of Obamacare. They don't want it. They're going to be in charge of me and you. It just gets better. Now, what this last year, for me, this was a strange year. Most of my patients were well. How many people saw that cough that went around last year that nobody could shake? How many people, raise your hands if you saw that cough going around? I had patients that went to the hospital. They said, you have the 100-day cough. There's nothing we can do about it. They did a CAT scan, an MRI, rattled up the bill. Said, just go home. You're going to cough for 3 months, and there's not a thing you can do about it. I couldn't treat it. Nothing worked. I had to try to keep these people alive long enough so that they didn't die. I basically tried to keep people alive. Just long enough, hopefully their immune system could fight it. It's going to get better this year. It's going to get better. The FDA approves the first genetically modified flu vaccine that's coming from reprogrammed insect viruses. I can't wait to get this one. I'm going to be the first one. It's got some weird recombinant DNA technology and an insect virus known as baculovirus. It's going to help more rapid production of vaccines. Well, that's good. Flublok is produced by extracting cells from the fall armyworm, a type of caterpillar, and genetically altering them to produce large amounts of hemagglutinin, a flu virus protein that enables the flu virus itself to enter the body quickly. Well, that's good. I'm looking forward to this one. The side effects are Guillain-Barré, which is a nice name for MS, so you can't say MS because that's going to stir everybody up. Respiratory infections, well, you'll spend a lifetime coughing that up. Headaches, well, it'll attack your brain eventually. You'll wish you didn't have that headache. It's not an easy one to get rid of. Allergic reactions, well, you're all allergic to everything now, and nobody can eat anything anymore. Myalgia, that's a nice name for having a fever in your body, which you'll probably have for quite a long time. Rhinorrhea, which is a runny nose. Altered immunocompetence. That's why all your immune systems are half shot. So now the U.S. says this is an appalling irresponsibility. The senior scientists attacked the Chinese because they created a new strain of influenza in a veterinary lab. They mixed a bird flu and a human flu that was horrible, 60% fatal. So they said the lab-altered H5N1 is more infectious to humans than birds. So the Japanese created a genetically altered version of H5N1, a bird flu. They reported in the journal Nature that the mutated pathogen could be transferred among animals through the air, for example, sneezing. So the H7N7, it's airborne. Well, this is supposed to just stay in the lab. So scientists in the Dutch city of Rotterdam know what it takes to make a mutated bird flu because they made it. This is a deadly bird flu. According to the WHO, it's now airborne. It mutates 8 times faster than the normal flu virus and has a death-to-infection ratio of 25%. So if 100 of you get it, a quarter of you will die. They're making these in the labs. This is what they're doing with your tax dollars. It was initially believed that the virus could only be transmitted to humans, but maybe it's not like that. Now, I didn't want to put a protocol for viruses. I would encourage all you people, as a very special way. Some people have monocarriers, some people have thyroid trouble, some people are too alkaline. We're going to have a customized approach. I'm doing it this year. I have a lot of patients that sneak around and will get that insect flu thing, and they're going to cough this on me. Now, my body has never seen this before, and either has yours. So we don't all think the same, so get one of your friends, and he'll go sneak out because He'll get the shot because the television told him to. And you're going to take a car trip, and he's going to cough. He's going to cough on you all the way up north. He's going to sneeze all the way up north. You're going to have a blast with trying to fight off something your body's never seen before. I'm going to take my immune system seriously this year because they keep making stuff, and it keeps getting worse. Now, anybody in motocross here, my son was at this race with all the salt and minerals in the truck that he uses to ride motocross. This guy croaked. Now, Ryan Villapoto and Tommy Hahn are big names in motocross. Dylan is sitting in the hospital after he half croaked on the track, holding this guy's hand. His eyes are rolled back in his head. His temperature was 107 degrees when they put him into the ambulance. And he took him to the hospital, and they crammed so much saline in him. In the casket, he looked like that Pillsbury Doughboy. They overhydrated him. And so salt and minerals. He ran out of his salt, and he ran out of his minerals. I see you people coming in constantly. Do you know what it looks like, you people that have no salt and no minerals? You can't keep the water bottle out of your mouth. I watch people that couldn't sit through a half-hour show. You're so dehydrated because you have no salt and no minerals. You can't handle the heat. I'm going to show you what that looks like on some patients, because people think if they drink 15 gallons of water a day, it's good. It's not good. You don't have the minerals to do it. So this kid croaked from heat stroke, and I already had a guy almost croak from heat stroke this year. I had my first one. He was trying to saw a board in half. And they gave him a dull saw. I think it was at Home Depot. He was sawing a board for like a half an hour with a saw that wasn't a real saw. And he about croaked. He was about 55 years old. He walked into that completely dehydrated. Sea salt. Real salt, Hain salt, McCormick, Himalayan salt's way down there. Salina salt, Portuguese sea salt. Here's the Celtic salt and the Hawaiian salt. You want to stick to these top two because the mineral brine is rich. It's something to try to use in this heat. My son is taking off to Romania tomorrow to motorcycle through the mountains of Romania. I know there's about 8 guys going, a couple of dads. It's 80 miles a day through the mountains. My son's in shape and perfectly hydrated. I worry about the other people. I worry about them. They're not as healthy and sturdy as Dylan is. Mineral analysis, we got to go past that. This guy comes in constantly sweating, constantly thirsty, and constantly fatigued. I said, how much water do you drink? Oh, I got that covered. I drink 47 bottles of water a day. Good. I mean, it was something ridiculous. I said, for Pete's sakes, you got no minerals and you got no salt. So I told him how to do minerals and salt. He went out and took a 4-mile jog, and after 4 months of being off, and ran faster doing that than he did when he was in shape 4 months ago, living on 4 bottles of... He said, my wife talked me into doing this. I can't believe I did it. He was completely drained and totally dehydrated, so you don't get it. So I'll tell you you're dehydrated. Oh, no, I'm not. I drank 14 bottles before lunch. You're totally dehydrated. These people are expiring in the heat. Now, if your dog's grandpa died of ovarian cancer, grandma, and then your mom died of ovarian cancer, and then your daughter died of ovarian cancer, and they poured $1 million into each one before they died, you think they held anything back on Pierce Brosnan's daughter? Anything? All 3 of them. Boom, boom, boom. Right in a row. I will cover more of this later. That's a silicon deficiency. A simple broken gene that mineral controls is responsible 87% of the time. It's a deficiency. Hire a vet. Take your little sick animals to the vet. tell him everything keeps dying of ovarian cancer, he's going to look at the food and say, you're not feeding him right. Done. This is how they play this. This is a catastrophe. Go to Michigan State's vet school, talk to the head professor there, tell him what's happening in your family. He'll pull out the genetic sequencing and say, the mineral that controls that sequence is that. That's how they do it. Just like that. Silicon keeps that cancer-correcting gene functioning. I got to stick some minerals in here. Soda pop wipes out magnesium. Everybody's on Costco calcium. That'll suck the magnesium out. Milk will pull the magnesium out. Geriatric patients take, that's coral calcium, oyster shell, calcium carbonate. Diuretic users, everybody's on a water pill. Foot odor, sleep, migraines, heart palpitations are in vogue right now. Kids are collapsing everywhere. I've had 2 kids collapse with their hearts out of rhythm, and I had to feed their heart, but I had to get a cardiologist blessing because the school wouldn't take them back. In sports, organ calcification. I didn't look for this. I have a letter from a Tourette's kid that barked and stuttered, and his name was Bryce. Bryce. He'd been to 10 neurologists and all the medications he was on, and I put him on some simple minerals, and his Tourette's stopped. Now, I got a letter from the kid that I used at a lecture years ago. I thought I was going to have to be like this my whole life, et cetera, and I put up at the lecture, the neurologist had a paragraph diagnosis this big. I had no clue what it said, but it sounded extremely expensive. He was talking about how the brain misfires. It was a deficiency that he was describing. I had nosebleeds. Remember all my nosebleeds, Ron? I had nosebleeds all the time. That's how I lost my teeth. There was my best friend there from childhood. I think, is this your first lecture? No. You've attended with me? A couple? So he remembers nosebleeds and leg aches. See, I had the dad with the salaried insurance. I had salaried insurance. There's my father. Ron's dad had a little more blue-collar insurance. I had the good stuff. So I went to the doctor all the time, and he didn't. And I was the one always sick. And at 13 is when I fired. Done. This is the last time you're dragging me to... Last time I said his name, a woman came up to me and said, that's my uncle. And he's about 80 years old now. I thought he'd be long dead. Dr. Forgrave was his name. Talk to my attorney, we'll work out the details. Now I've kept this in secret for the women. A day at the spa. This lady was in recently. She's my age, 55. And she's pointing, room 6, and she's pointing at the thing on the wall. She said, should I take those oils? And I said, Pat, man, you look like crap. I said, you look like crap. I mean, those pasty white people, I could point some of you out, but I'm not because I want you to be my friend. And don't give me the finger on Facebook or nothing. Do they have a finger on Facebook? It will be on there, I'm sure. So I said, I want you. I didn't tell her about this yet. 6F tablets, 2-line B6. Simple. Pat's going to see this if she's in the waiting. Pat, if you're in the waiting room and you see this, I will give you step 3, which I never talked about yet. Get 6F tablets and 2-line B6. That's what I take to bake in the sun. And my point is, she comes in a month later. She said, you're not going to believe it. I said, what? She said, 2 guys tried to pick me up in the last month. They walked up to her and said, your skin is so beautiful. If you didn't have that wedding ring on, I'd ask you out. She said, it didn't happen once, it happened twice, and it's never happened to me in my entire life. That's a real story. Now, the day at the spa, for you women and your babies, they got tobacco patches. They got estrogen patches. They got fentanyl patches. There's transdermal patches. Correct? Everybody knows that, right? Put patches on to quit smoking. You get patches on for estrogen. They got all kinds of patches. Your skin is an organ that you can put stuff in. When I see all the stuff you put on, And you like to tell me all how well you eat, and you got those fingernail polishes that absolutely cause cancer and raise your estrogen levels and bake everything. But you got to start putting stuff on you that you can eat. This is a special oil from Biotics. It contains those 4 oils. You put it head to toe and rub it into your body. You do it to your babies, and you can get this right. That's the brain. There's all your oils. You rub it in. You take those oils. They said wrap your hair, put everything, every corner of your body. Wrap your hair in a towel and go to bed. And get up in the morning. Now, I did this to see it. Before I talk about stuff, I like to do this. You do the oils on the inside, you will glow. And that's what you take your little babies. My staff knows who the first children probably first, because those are your special ones. I'm number 2. Thank God, Ron, we're not number 1. The first ones are all messed up. They're all messed up. They just sit and stare at them when they're in the room. I can't even talk to Mom because she's just staring at Jesus on the floor. I'm like, over here, babe, over here. We got to get through this. Isn't he beautiful? Yes. By the 5th or 6th kid, he's out all night. Me and Ron were out all night. They didn't even know where we were, did they? We didn't care. We came home in the morning and you got a haircut. Oh, the olden days. Ron knows where all the bodies are buried. So if you want to know where the bodies are buried, Ron will tell you absolutely where they're at. But that is a cool spa treat. I did it outside. I sat in the sun. I wanted to bake this oil into my son. When I got sick of it, I jumped in the pool. That's not how they said to do it. In case you start thinking clearly, we got to make sure we get NutraSweet in your brain. We're going to hide it in milk. You got to help us out. Just drink your milk. It does the body good. Doesn't matter if it's cow hormones. It's still, they're going to try to stick NutraSweet hidden in milk. Amphibians are dying off at an alarming rate. Now, they don't detoxify as well as us. Now, remember, this is a mineral lecture. I'm going to tie all this together. Remember the frogs as a kid? You see frogs like you used to? No. They're losing about 4% a year, declining. You're next. Pay attention, you're next. I wanted to know what the CDC says. You got to believe the Center for Disease Continuation because they really have good stuff out there. So they had some questions about mercury and thimerosal. Got to ask some questions. All right. Unborn babies are more sensitive to the effects of many chemicals, including mercury. Premature babies are much more vulnerable because they're small and the brain's not developed. Children may be at a high risk of mercury exposure than are adults because they're more sensitive. Their nervous systems are still developing. I agree with that. Very young children, mercury in the mother's body passes to the fetus, nursing through the breast milk. I believe that. For pregnant women, adjust mercury. Harmful effects may be passed from the mother to the developing fetus, including brain damage, mental retardation, lack of coordination, blindness, seizures, and an inability to speak. Children poisoned by mercury may develop nervous and digestive problems. So I get through all this, and at the bottom it says, the flu shot is safe for pregnant women. You had to be in the office with me on Thursday. I had a wonderful woman with a 15-year-old kid in a stroller. The kid tried to cold cock his mother the whole time and kick her in the head. He can't speak. He was on 5 anti-seizure medications, Keppra, Lamictal, name them all. He was on 5 of them, and he was still a lunatic. Now, if any one of you took half of what he took, you'd be on the floor. You'd be on the floor. He was a complete odd, and this poor woman tried to sit there, and he's trying to sucker punch her, kick her in the head in room 1 the entire time. Kelly was in the room with me. We sat and watched this. She says, I just want to, when I left the room, she said to Kelly, I want to leave him on the porch one night. I just want to leave him and hope somebody will turn him into a hamburger or something. I can't take it anymore. She was doing the best she could. His whole life was seizures. It was a vaccine injury. Now, anybody on 5 anti-seizure medications that act like that, I looked at this woman. This was total chaos. I have no patience for this, so if you think I'm a center for this, I am not. This woman is delightful. I said, does he ever itch his butt? She said he plays with his butt constantly. He keeps sticking his fingers up his butt, and he likes to play with his poop. I said, the kid's full of worms. I said, anybody on that much medication and acts like a lunatic, I can't wait to see this kid. I am going to absolutely stick Drano down him because I think that kid is so completely parasite-soaked because nobody could act like that on those medications. You couldn't stay conscious on what he's taking. It'll be interesting to see what the follow-up is with this kid. Doesn't speak. He's about this big, too. So if you want to corral him, you're going to need a rope and a German Shepherd. In the good times, he's going to live a long time. There's only 93,000 special ed kids in the Tri-County area. That's their own 93,000. How many do you remember? We went to Taft, Bryant, Stevenson. None. 93,000. And they were supposed to pay your Social Security, which they already stole anyway. Unbelievable. So a little thing about seasonal flu vaccines. Make sure you get your shots. Not me, but enjoy these lectures. Do you guys enjoy these lectures? They're starting to blacklist and remove things from the internet. Are they listening to us? Are they watching you guys? They just admitted it. The NSA says, yeah, we're listening to everything. We have everything. We're monitoring all your... Now they're starting to censor stuff selectively. This is just the beginning. So you people that are learning stuff, you better learn, because the next generation's so incompetently ignorant and willingly ignorant, they're going to fall for everything. Because they're censoring everything right now. They're just going to slowly take stuff off. I wonder how long my stuff will be on YouTube. The new psychiatric manual came out. Every year, now temper tantrums. Get your kid diagnosed. You like to take your kids to the doctors all the time, so you do. And the doctor classifies him, obsessive compulsive, one of those little words. And you say, well, I don't want to put him on, Prozac, he's 3. Well, they call Child Protective Services, and you get a visit. You're going to get a visit. So if you want to visit, just keep taking your kid there. They're going to keep telling you stuff, and you're going to get a visit. Because everything's a mental illness now. Forget your keys, senior moments, that's a neurocognitive disorder. You like to stockpile food, supplies, or other items in anticipation of disaster, that's obsessive-compulsive hoarder disorder. You need treatment. And you're going to get the treatment whether you like it or not. The treatment. Mood swings. This was one of the guys I referred to. Now, I have a special spot today because everybody's dropping dead. I'm getting Herkowitz. I use 3 surgeons. I have great surgeons, outstanding surgeons. I used Moore and Audette for years, Gerald Moore and Audette. They have retired. I've used Tech Sue. I've used Piper and Easton. I've used Jim Bowles. I have a great relationship with my surgeons. They have done outstanding jobs. Make sure you operate on the right back. You've got to operate on the right back. They're busy. They know who to operate and who not. He was one of the guys I used, Harry Herkowitz. 65, he collapsed. Now, I had patients in line that morning on June 4th. He was getting his morning coffee at Starbucks. He collapsed. Herkowitz was the chairman of orthopedic surgery at Beaumont. The chairman. He was an avid runner, and he ate healthy. And he was never sick. What's going on? He did everything right. Mick Jagger just turned 70. Ozzy Osbourne's still alive. He tried to kill himself about 4,000 times. He's still going. Keith Richards, Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney, nothing can happen to him. I know, I'm waiting for the visit from the guy with no sense of humor for making fun of Dick Cheney. Hopefully it'll be a quick one. 65. Gandolfini, he dropped dead, 51, 4 years younger than us. And they said, well, it's because he ate shrimp and drank a beer. If everybody that ate shrimp and drank a beer croaked, we'd have an empty country. Gandolfini. Who else? The guy in Law and Order. Dropped dead, pulmonary embolism. I have a special patient. I appreciate this dentist in the front row, Dr. Simone, for helping me. I appreciate him sharing his story because I can't take this anymore. Bob Probert dropped dead, my son's best 45 starting a boat. His dad croaked at 41 as a cop in Windsor, right where he stood. Boom. You had a genetic clotting factor. You had a genetic clotting factor. You had one. You had one. You had one. You had one. I can point to that many in the first 5 rows. They're letting all these people die because there's no prescriptions for them. None. Who else dropped dead? The QVC guy, he was 50. Well, it's because he snorted coke like 5 years ago. That's why he did. That ain't why he dropped dead, or some of us would have been dead. So I have a very smart man here in the front row, and I asked Dr. Simone before, after. Genetics came in with chest pain. But the point was, his visit with the cardiologist before, plugged up, told him what to take, cleaned him out, went back to the cardiologist, this is what I did. Well, we better rerun the test. The test changed. All his chest pain disappeared. Come on up here for a second. Thank you for sharing your story and life with us about this. What was it like to sit with the cardiologist, having your arteries cleaned out with a genetic blockage? How did he treat you? Your wife said it was a creepy visit.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and just to give a little background, and I won't take up the time because I know that time's ticking. And he looks skinny, by the way, since I don't know what you're doing, but you know, you better give
covering
him some
that. I'm covering that in an hour. I'm going to tell you why I'm losing weight.
A few years ago, and really by that I mean about 3, I was feeling congested, tense. I was having some issues. I'd wake up about 11:30 at night, and my heart was fluttering, kind of ringing in my ears, and that was all going on at the same time. So I was pretty good at making my yearly visits to the doctors, and so I went in, and he said, "You've got high blood pressure, just take these meds." And I said, "No." I said, "Tell me why I have it, and let's go from there." And so he said, "Let me send you to the cardiologist, and we'll get some more results." I said, "Okay." So I went to the cardiologist, you know, ran the treadmill, did the whole thing, and they said, "You know, you're like at 150% better than anybody your age at running the treadmill, so you're good." And I said, "I'm not good because my blood pressure's high and I feel something's going on, so I don't want to just take medication. So I really want a CAT scan of my heart arteries." And I really came to that because I've got some patients. One's a detective, really good detective, and he ended up having open heart surgery because his father had passed away at a relatively young age, prior to 50. He pushed to have something done because, and he didn't even feel bad, but a friend of his had a heart attack. So he was pushing the issue, found out that he needed open heart surgery. I felt the pressure, started thinking about what's going on with my family and my practice, and you know, that leads to a little bit more diving in than just let me take the meds. So I pushed for a CAT scan, got the CAT scan, and it was reasonable because I've got family history associated with my heart, and found out that there was between 60 and 70% blockage in 2 of the arteries. And that's kind of debilitating when the only thing that you've ever felt was your weakness is your own determination, because everything else is, you know, fine. So now all of a sudden now I'm crippled, so to speak, and I decided that I needed to clean it out, and there was no cleanser. So I've heard of Dr. Tent a few times.
Who told you to come and see me? I'm
a
not
couple
sure.
of patients, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
He lives in Clinton Township. That's a long ways from here.
Yeah, it's a 45-minute ride. So, you know, a couple of my patients had mentioned it, and I thought, you know, I'm going to go for the cardio cleanse, but I didn't know what that meant. So I went to Dr. Tent, and he said, listen, and he showed me, as probably all of you have seen, several similar stories on the wall in his office, and he said, go get me a blood test. It's one of these 4 things that's your problem. And I said, okay. So I brought the information back, and he said, this is the one. Take this, and after 2 months, come on back. You're going to feel totally different. Well, I came back, and after 2 months, and I didn't feel totally different just yet. And I was starting to get a little concerned, you know. But he said, don't worry, this is going to work. 2 more months, and then we'll see you back. I mean, really, I probably saw him more than twice in that 4-month period. Probably saw him 3 or 4 times. But
A couple times to get adjusted.
yes, exactly. And so beyond that, so by the time I came back in the 4 months, I said, man, I really feel different. And he said, you're out of the woods. And I said, you know, I like the idea. I hope that's true, but I still needed some verification because I was previously clogged up 60 to 70%, 2 arteries, one of them the Widowmaker. And that is very concerning to the person who that hears that and their family, because now I've got my wife who is really concerned and worried, and everything I eat and everything I do, you know, it becomes really, you know, normal, but hard to take even that much more. But thank God for her, and thank God for my family. They kind of kept me in the right direction. So anyway, I had a CAT scan 1 year later from the time that I had my other one. So same machine, same person reading it, and I got a call a week later. And the nurse said, yeah, I'm just calling you with the results. She goes, you know, this is really strange, though. And I go, really? And now I'm just waiting. My fingers are crossed. And she goes, you know, usually it gets worse. I said, okay. And she says, they were 60 to 70% black. Now it's gone down to 20 to 25%. And I just, you know, you kind of let go. It was a great feeling because now it's confirmed. Although, you know, a great cardiologist, I feel, defended to some degree what that was about. And maybe it had to do with the first CAT scan, or maybe it was this, but the reality in my mind is this. It's not the practitioners as much as it is maybe the thought process that's there. Because really, not only did it work, not only there was a reduction in the arteries, but there was a significant difference in the way that I felt. And it wasn't hocus pocus because, you know, I stopped taking the supplements for a while. I took them for probably longer than I was supposed to.
You always do. You feel so good, you don't want to stop.
Yeah, but,
I always overtreat my heart. Always.
Yeah, so it really has made a big difference, and I really know the fact that it's there. So there was a little defense in the mechanism to say maybe the first CAT scan wasn't right. Or
was the cardiologist happy or not happy? Your wife said he was kind of weird about this because he's not used to...
You know, he's a really good guy, and I don't want to paint him as something other than that. But it was more like, you know, well, maybe, you know, I don't know, it could have been that, you know, it was more like solution finding to why that wasn't necessarily true, and yet it is true. So
when your chest pain goes away, your chest pain goes away.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Doc. I appreciate it.
But now dentists are now look, I gotta do a plug here for all you folks. Comprehensive aesthetic dentistry. The new young guys with all their modern techniques are cleaning up the messes from the old guys with the old techniques. So I would encourage, you know, on that side of town, mention, you know, that you've been here, and you know, give this guy a try. Let him clean up the stuff that the other guy, you know, the old-fashioned stuff, that everybody's turning around. One of my favorite patients and one of my favorite families is a 56-year-old. I want you two guys up here. Keaton, I need to know I tried to find his phone number. Come on up here, Mom. This is a 30-year patient. I've treated them, I think, before you guys were married. Was that true?
The year after we were married.
The year after? How long have you been a patient? 30 years?
You were young.
Yes, I was probably 24?
27 years.
I was 27 years. So I get a phone call. The worst thing that can happen, John had a stroke. This is a locksmith. Key John Locks is his name. He's taken care of my home and my business for as long as we've been around. My son's business. He's a master. He was a Detroit public school teacher for how many years?
My whole career.
Whole career. And he does locksmithing on the side. He's got great kids. They've been homeschooled kids. So I get a phone call. He's had a stroke July 17th. Now, when you're an established patient this long with no family history, you know, I kind of took this personally. What do you mean John had a stroke? Well, he's in Beaumont with a stroke.
Well, actually, the story starts before that. I was, sorry to take your pulpit here.
That's all right.
And just as two disclaimers, one is we are a distant patient because we're smart and we get well quickly. And second, I was hoping to be on December's comedy show.
It will be.
The whole scenario started on 1 month ago today, on a Wednesday morning, but in reality it started Tuesday night. And actually, in hindsight 2020, it actually started about a week and a half before that, because I was lightheaded after a hot day, and I realized after a hot day working hard, not drinking properly, the answer would be water. So I drank water, symptom went away. It happened again about a week later, thereabouts, very similar circumstance. It was on the hot side. I knew I wasn't drinking properly. Lightheadedness, a little heaviness of hand. Solution, I'm a Boy Scout, I know the answer, it's water. It solved the problem. The Tuesday night before the incident, I was home alone, and that's explained because my family was all up north. And I was completing a hot day, in and out of air conditioning, doing a little bit of computer work at the end of the day, and decided it's time to go to bed because I was getting nauseated. I knew it wasn't water because I had been sipping on a 64-ounce all day long of straight water. So I went to the bathroom, and then I realized that when I went to wipe, it was a little uneasy. So I went to grab the towel rack, and my arm went up. My fingers would not grab the towel rack. So now I'm thinking, what do I do now? The answer, sleep it off.
A home alone. Kids are up north.
So I decide that's what I'm going to do. I do the best I can. I work my way upstairs, and my left leg gets heavy. What's the answer? Sleep it off.
Water, more water. Drink.
I'm going to sleep it off. I started to get ready for bed. I couldn't undress, so I just went to bed, and I figured this. I made a promise to myself. If I woke up in the morning, I would call my doctor. And if I didn't, most of my friends would have one more chance to visit.
Right.
So I flopped around at night a few times. I did get adequate sleep, except when I turned, I had to grab this arm and pull it over me. I woke up in the morning. I called my doctor. My doctor said I had a couple of options. I asked, is this something I need to go to ER for, or do you have an answer for it? My doctor wasn't in at that point, and the office staff said he will be in shortly, he will call you, of which he did. I took that call and I told him the synopsis. He said, this is your problem. This is what you need to do. He rattled off a couple of items. I recognized the one. I didn't recognize the other, so I attempted to write what he said down, not really knowing what I was writing. I said, can I go to ER? And he said, if you go to ER, then you need to do this, and don't take that. And so I took that as, you can go to ER. So I called my neighbor, home alone again. I called my neighbor to help me, to take me to the hospital, of which she went frantic and came down. I said, I'm dressed, it's okay. So she comes and she says, if you fall, I can't pick you up. You need to call 911. So I debated for a moment, and then I decided, well, okay, we'll call 911, which now alerted the neighborhood that Hubels were having a problem. We go to the hospital, a very well-known hospital. They asked me which one I wanted to go to. I told them. And I was well received. Another neighbor of ours had just gotten off the clock and turned around and came back, and I guess she had said a few things that encouraged the doctors to move quickly. And they did what they thought was proper. They were treating this as a weakness on the left side, which in their terms was stroke. They put me into this magic machine, the CAT scan, and I don't know how long the answers came back, but the bottom line of that one was it was a clear scan.
His whole left side's gone. He can't move his arm. His leg's gone. His face is all gone. And the machine says you're fine. Now, he was treated well at this hospital. Now, when he calls me...
I didn't tell him it was you yet.
I know. But now he's in the hospital. It's obvious he's had a stroke. The machine says everything's fine. I don't know anybody in his family like this. And my point is, with this, I said, run that genetic clotting panel. Now, he was treated, I got to tell you, he was treated masterfully at Beaumont. They were kind, wonderful people. Runs the genetic panel. His homocysteine's 29. I want that under 10. I just ran my clotting panel. They don't know what this is. I said, this is what's in his head. They said, we don't understand this.
They wanted to do 2 more tests. They wanted to do the carotid artery ultrasound, which was urgent to them, but it took 24 hours to get it done. Then they wanted to do an ultrasound of the heart, of which it took 48 hours to get done. And all of those came back clear. Then they wanted to do this, and then they wanted to do that, and they wanted to do this, this, this. And through a few text messages, my doctor said, how many chances are you going to give them? We had already decided that they didn't know. I think they were looking for that splinter in my toenail that I had 15 years ago, but I didn't want these tubes to go down me. I didn't want more holes put in me. I didn't want more blood donations to go along with it.
I told him he was a pain in the neck patient to Beaumont. He turned everything. I said, for Pete's sake, you got to let him do something. Your whole left side's dead. You don't do anything.
I was very fortunate to have a patient advocate with me 24/7, my wife. And I'm sure Dr. Tent can tell you how important it is to have someone who's not vulnerable, like myself, laying down in a bed, to say, what's this test for? Why is it necessary? What will you learn from it? What does this pill look like? Why are you giving him stool softeners? He doesn't have a problem going potty.
Flu shots, Lipitor, the whole game started. He's had a stroke.
And why are you doing duplicate tests?
They don't understand this. I'm trying to explain to them lipoprotein A, C-reactive protein, which is inflammatory, homocysteine. We don't know what to do. What do you mean you don't know what to do? This is a hospital. And I'm on the 7th floor with wonderful staff. We're trying to walk them through reading a blood test. That's a chiropractor.
Which was spelled wrong on the computer.
And they spelled the word wrong on the computer. So I'm saying, look, you got to run this test. He's got something stuck in his head. Me and my wife went to visit him. He's on the 7th floor. And I'm sitting there in the middle of la-la land, and they don't have a clue what this is. I had one of my top pharmacist patients said, she asked him, why don't you deal with any of these things? We don't know what to do, so we ignore it. This is Gandolfini, this is Larry, this is Bernie, this is you. I can point them out in this room. But nobody got a hold of Probert. He was starting a boat in front of the 4 kids. This is happening this is happening constantly, everywhere, and they're all dropping dead. I have to walk them through there's Lipitor, the drugs don't work, so they've ignored it. This is completely ignored. These people make great looking corpses. So he was a mess. I was there 3 weeks ago on a Sunday night. He was a mess. I've been dissolving this thing out of his head. He couldn't even hardly walk in the bed. This is how much progress he had to do, and they just wanted to give him a flu shot, Lipitor, and a stool softener. This is how much he's come back. This is from that day, July 17th. He's come back that much from a mess.
July 10th.
July 10th.
I didn't tell them that you were treating during our stay, too.
Okay?
I didn't tell them you were treating us during our stay, but you can tell them if you want.
Okay. All right. Thank you, John. So I went there with the stuff. They were sneaking the stuff in his mouth. Now, for you doctors out there, I said, put him on 2 Cerida Plus and 2 Intenzyme Forte every hour until I find out what this is. His homocysteine was 29. I used trimethylglycine, folic acid, B6, and B12, and I've been hammering that on him. We're dissolving it right out of his body. His whole left side's starting to come back to life. But to have to sit in a hospital and explain this to the hospital, what was your clotting factors? I put you on the spot. This is Dr. Simone's friend. You had 2, right? And what happens when you get rid of this, the weight leaves your chest. That happened to me at 30 the first time. I have no genetic blockages. I kept getting pestered to clean out my arteries, so I did. It feels so cool. I do it for 8 weeks every summer so I can play hockey. And a guy croaked on my league. They had to paddle him back to life. Every guy my age that plays hockey, somebody's died on the ice. I got to keep moving. Homocysteine. Homocysteine. We don't know this. What is this word? It's homocysteine. You know what this is like to watch this around you every day? And all they're worried about is giving you a flu shot and Lipitor? That's it. He's in the front row. I'm trying to explain it to these guys. Homocysteine 22, lipoprotein A 30. I gave this to Bob Probert's wife through her best friend who's a patient. She said, that was a terrible funeral. I said, what funeral? She said, I went to Probert's. I said, you know her? She said, she's my best friend. I said, give this to Danny and tell her 2 of these kids are carrying that. 2 of these kids. I've checked his sister and she came back normal. This guy's in the front row. Mr. Gardner, how are you feeling cleaning out your arteries?
I feel great. I feel like a teenager. I really do.
His daughter comes in. She said, for Pete's sake, he's crawling around the floor with the grandkids. He's a completely different person.
My doctor denied he wouldn't do that test for me. He says you don't need it.
No.
You come in, he kept on giving me stronger meds.
Yes.
I said, it got worse.
When you're on 4 medications and nothing moves, this is every day. How many genetic blockages are in this crowd? Raise your hands. You guys know I'm treating you all for it. Homocysteine was 17. His kids come in and said, what did you do to my dad? He's completely different. He's playing with the grandkids, rolling around the lawn like he's new. So they just keep pounding the blood pressure medications till they'll kill you off. 3 weeks on the supplements, he's playing on the ground with his kids. His family doesn't know what's going on. Kelly's coach. Kelly brings in his coach. Is this your softball coach? Volleyball coach. Big, strong. I tried to get her here. I got her 2 weeks after her twin died. She's 42. Her twin dropped dead. So we ran this, and I wanted her to be here. She's like, my chest is completely different. You don't even realize how plugged up you are because it's slow. She said, I've had an anchor off my chest. I never even knew that anchor was there. 2 weeks after her sister dropped dead. This guy was in Tuesday, 39 years old. He's dragging his leg. He's got Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue syndrome. He's had a stroke at 32. Came up from Texas. This was Friday. So he's in with his mother. His mother's been a patient 20 years. So, all right, I've already done these 2 on your mother. So Friday, he started on his journey after a stroke at 39. Now, after 7 years, he's going to be dragging for a while. I don't think he's going to come back. We're trying to get you all the way back. 32. They don't know what to run on him. Clotting factors. I just ran mine because he didn't have any problems. I said, doesn't this run in your family? He said, no. And my wife looked at me and said, you should run that test. I just ran it. My lipoprotein A is 5. Kelly, my other back Kelly besides this Kelly, is 125. Kelly's already thrown a clot into her heart. Her homocystine's high and lipoprotein A. Her father had a bypass and had it plugged shut in 6 months. They just were going to carve it out again. We dissolved that one 8 years ago. This is everywhere. There's inflammatory. That has a lot of nutritional stuff. Randy Travis, they said, had viral cardiomyopathy, which is a real garbage basket term. That wasn't viral cardiomyopathy. That was booze and speed. He had a stroke when somebody tried talking him into putting an impeller into his heart. His heart is so dead from the booze, somebody said, I got an idea. Let's open up your chest and put an impeller in to push blood because your heart's dead. So then he threw the clot into his brain from the operation. They had to take a hunk of his head off to let the pressure out. He's 54. That's a mess. Booze and speed. This lady has been a patient forever. Now, to get this, 80, 39, I had to beg the doctor, please, please, take her off the statins. You got to take her off the statins and see if you can get away from the beta blocker. Get his blessing. You got to get Jesus' blessing to mess with this stuff because they have a license to do this, and I have to ask their permission to do something they have no clue what they're doing. Yes. One guy laughed. The rest of them didn't get it. Laugh again, would you? I put her on my heart failure pills, 3 of them, raw heart, simple stuff. And they're like, well, this is cool. Yes. You had no part in it. Meat pieces. Meat pieces. I can't take these pills. There's meat pieces in it. They're ignorant. Protomorphogens are the mineral skeletons of life. Harvard just figured this out. You can use glandulars to support failed organs. That's what I used on her. Meat pieces. They're not meat pieces, for Pete's sakes. They're some of the most smartest, intelligent nutritional support that only God himself could create. This baby, she's in the front row. That's you. Meat pieces, raise your hand. This one, what kind of cancer surgery did you go through? Well, on your back, the nasty one. And then did chemo and radiation. And say, well, congratulations. You're sterile. Your ovaries are dead. You're sterile. So mom comes in. Raise your hand, Mom. He's been patients for 30 years. Ma comes in. What one pill could my daughter take to maybe have a baby? I'm going to use the meat pieces. Those evil meat pieces. I put her on Simplex F. They said, you'll never have a kid from all the chemo. You're dead. Everything's dead. You're not just good luck. You just go. She took 6 a day. How many months till you got pregnant? About 7 months? She went into menopause twice from the chemo. 6 is raw pituitary, adrenal, thyroid, and ovaries. 7 months she got pregnant and had a baby, and they're all standing around. How did this happen? I used meat pieces. Meat pieces. The evil ones. MicroRNAs, the secret to mend your heart. Harvard said you can replace damaged or killed heart muscle cells by replication of your already healthy heart cells. Yes. Every tissue has its own protein skeleton, and it only responds to that organ. Mammals are interchangeable. They have the same protein matrix. I used raw pituitary, raw adrenal, and I'm going to get to my weight loss because that's part of what I did. I'm glad you noticed in front of everybody. That was a perfect segue to what I'm going to get into. MicroRNAs, genetic molecules. This is intelligence we don't even understand. I've taken many failed organs and regrew them right in front of the doctors and had them say, how'd your heart go from 17 to 53%? I treated the mineral skeleton in that tissue. Each cell responds to that. I'm not going to explain this because I don't even understand it, neither are you, and we're not smart enough. Meat pieces. Lord have mercy. 15-year-old male, left side chest pains. cardiologists, EKGs, cardiology, the emergency room, stress tests, radioactive dye studies, no relief with the inhaler. We've been in the emergency room at EKGs. He's had a radioactive dye study. We don't know what to do. He has chest pain. I said, how long you had the braces on? He said, 3 years. I said, your mouth's all tore up. You have a huge infection under your arm from the braces. I've treated a half a dozen kids that have been in the emergency room for chest pain because the braces turned their mouth into a hamburger. Their infections all the way down to here. So when I stop the kid's heart, they want to write the kid up in a journal. They've never seen this before. How did you do this? His chest pain's gone. I used a meat piece. If you only knew my, world, you'd understand this. Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie. What an interesting thing. $1 trillion later in cancer therapy, we're just going to lop off your breasts. This is what all you guys running around in circles with the ribbons and stuff, and you got a good heart. I see you in Northville, Sunday mornings, everywhere the bald people are running, you got your scarves on, you mean well, you'll be blessed for this, I believe. But they're taking advantage of you. They're really taking advantage of you. God bless you for trying. You know something? Let me ask you a question. If we had a disease, this men, and they had to lop our Johnsons off, how long do you think it would take for us to get to the bottom of this problem? How long? It wouldn't take us long. See, we'd have this figured out in about a week. And if we have to have our Johnsons lopped off, Anthony Weiner's first, Bill Clinton's second, I got some men I think we should start with. Unbelievable. I can't make this stuff up. Nowhere in this article, indole-3-carbinol, cruciferous vegetables, that suppresses that gene. This is a deficiency. Sulfur, sulfur, sulfur. Vitamin D shuts off 4 out of 5 cancers of all types. They never talked about this. Just everybody. And you're lucky that that Supreme Court voted that down. You are lucky that they let you own your own genes, because if they would have passed that, you taxpayers are going to pay $3,000 a pop to test all these women for something that affects 1% and could be suppressed nutritionally. The taxpayers just dodged a huge bullet with that Supreme Court decision. A huge bullet. Minerals control genetic expression. GMO corn, organic corn, 14.2. 630, it's an empty food. Glyphosate inhibits natural. Do you know how all this Roundup works? It's a mineral chelator. It's not a pesticide. It's a chelator. It blocks 9 to 14 minerals. These minerals stop enzyme systems. When this happens, you block the immune system of the plant. So the simple little bugs in the ground kill it. It's stripping what little minerals you have out faster. I have their parents today in this crowd, some wonderful patients. Wonderful patients, and I've, stirred the pot with this wonderful family. I had my first Angelina Jolie patient come in, my first one. She's 30-some years old. She had a double mastectomy. The family's very concerned about this BRCA gene. Now they want to talk about a hysterectomy. I try to explain this, but the fear can become overwhelming in people, and I respect her decision. So here I sit with a woman that's had both breasts removed, contemplating a hysterectomy, asking for me for advice, and she's taking the birth control pill, which says it gives you cancer on the side. And I'm sitting there looking at this room like, is this life real? Is this the real world? Yes, she's on the birth control pill, trying to protect herself from cancer at the same time. Unbelievable. So Roundup is stripping your nutritionally deficient body faster. American EPA says 0.7% is allowed in your water. Well, liver damage starts at 0.0001%. So America's water is 7,000 times greater than that damages animals' liver. The GMO'd corn is 130,000 times more than they're allowed in the water. Your minerals are under attack by the Roundup, and you didn't have much to start with. Since the last lecture, they doubled the amount of weed killer in your food. They said to the EPA, we need more Roundup, and they said, good, you need more. They doubled it. They said it's only minimally toxic to humans. It's not minimally toxic to humans. The nuts are running the nut house. And by the way, genetically engineered agriculture is capable of driving estrogen receptor-mediated breast cancer cell proliferation with an infinitesimal parts per trillion. Tiny little, a part per trillion, that will drive breast cancer. And you're hitting about 130,000 times that every time you have the corn chips. I've eaten all this stuff. My body's soaked with this stuff. You better be running on all cylinders. Kelly's not here today. She didn't feel well. One of my back staff, not this, there's two back staff. Kelly's been to 3 funerals in the last month. Her friend just died of adrenal gland cancer. She's 35. The 12 and the 9-year-old are holding on to Dad's leg, crying at Ma's casket. Dad's got terminal brain cancer. He's 35. And her other friend just croaked of pancreatic cancer. She's 36. Kim's uncle just croaked. He's 52. He had lung and brain cancer. I am surrounded with my lung, and you're going to find out about lung cancer today because I got a little special story about that because I'm surrounded with lung cancer right now. Unbelievable. You're going to find out more. You have to have your gut working to keep from getting MS, Alzheimer's. Get to the MS part. So they finally figured out the EU banned the pesticides that killing all the bees, and the United States just approved it. So the European Union realizes how precious the bees are. My dad's staying at a great place now. They're taking great care of him. He's getting great care from Maria. She's an old patient, an old employee that's taking great care of my father. Sunrise, this is for you and my father. Colony cloud, potent pesticides killing the honeybees. Well, the EPA says there's these 2 nicotinic toxic chemicals that are killing the bees. It says, now Dad, I want you to picture this at Sunrise. He's at Sunrise on Haggerty. You can visit him. He's open for business. I want you to think about all the old people there. This is what it's causing the bees. Memory loss, navigation disruption, paralysis, and death. That's all the people at Sunrise where you're at. My dad's the only one that's not sitting there with his brain baked, and he's sitting there, they're slobbering and drooling. They look like the bees. Those people are just as poisoned as the bees. Navigation problems, look at how these old people walk. It's like a dead, half-dead bee. That's everybody at Sunrise, is it not, Maria? You've been there. He's the one in the front running the show because his brain still works. And he says, I can't even talk to half these people. They're brain dead. Exactly. They've bought the program. Genetically modified wheat silences hundreds of genes throughout the body. You don't want your genes silenced. That's bad news. The human body can correct malfunctioning genes 90% of the time. You got to catch it. You're going to have cancer for 7 or 8 years before you figure it out. 7 or 8 years. This is not something that's... Ron, now it's you. Me and my buddy Ron, it was me, him, and his brother. What was the cardinal rule in the school, in the subdivision at Taft School, with me, you, and your brother? We couldn't play on the same team. Is that true? That's true. Ron has 2 brothers. It's Ron and Bob and me. I grew up at 6th and Inkster on Deering in front of Taft School. Me, him, and his brother, the cardinal rule was you can't play on the same team because we could beat everybody. We slaughtered everybody. We played hockey, baseball, football, basketball. He was the best athlete in the subdivision. I'm a good athlete trying to keep up with him. That's the only reason I'm a reasonable athlete. And we could bat all day. We could score touchdowns constantly. And they did not want us on the same team. So playing sport tackle, we played tackle our whole life. I watched Ron. How many people have you watched pitch 2 or 3 no-hitters? I watched him pitch a no-hitter and hit 2 home runs, and we won 2-0 at Ford Field. He was a real athlete, and I said to him at lunch one day at Al Pacino's, do you ever remember being hurt enough to say, I got to go to the doctor? I remember taking a flying catch in front of Taft School. I caught the football like this across the driveway. Oh, I remember walking home, my knees and elbows. That probably lasted about 2 weeks, and we were back at it. I can still remember hitting that cement. Lord have mercy. That hurt. I didn't want to go to the doctor. He's going to stick something up my nose. He's going to give me a shot or something. I'm staying away from this guy. I'm fine. I'm fine. But my cousin Gary is a lumberjack. I said, Gary, he's 65 years old. Could today's kids keep up with you in the woods? He said, today's kids would last a week. He said, how'd you do it? I said, Aunt Beatrice gave you that bone broth soup. You got all the minerals from your bones, all your minerals from your cartilage, all your minerals for your ligaments. That's what you ate. It's meat pieces again. Evil meat pieces. Minerals for the genetic code. If you want more on this topic, I lectured with Richard Olry to the physicians. He's brilliant. I didn't even want to carry his briefcase because he's so smart. Brilliant guy. That's your gene sequencing. Here's your minerals. They make your genes work. Gallium, zinc, copper. You can't have those things or you form weird and you look like half the people in Walmart. I walk around, I look at this. I don't think the good Lord designed people to look like this. You're not supposed to look like that. God formed man out of the dust from the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life. We're dust. We're a big pile of minerals. Oh, no. You're full of Lipitor and flu shots. It's Nexium. You need your Nexium. The stuff these people have bought is absolutely... And the side effects on TV don't even register to them. They're so busy eating their cheese balls and their red pop on Taft School roof. This is what the ground looks like. Here's what the ground was like in 1900. That's what it looks like today. In 1936, you couldn't eat enough food to get the minerals. It was impossible. 1936. If you didn't get your minerals, and you know what happens when you don't get your minerals and there's nothing in the food? You eat constantly. So walk through the mall and look at it. You're going to eat all day. And you're just going to keep stuffing because you're never going to feel satisfied because there's nothing in your food. Macro minerals, I got to keep moving. Micro minerals. There's a war going on right now for the rare earth minerals. A war. We're fighting Africa or China for Africa. There's a $1 trillion mineral deposit in Afghanistan. They found rare earth. China said, I don't know when this is, that's the ones that double life expectancy. All those little dinky ones. Whenever they take a little dish, little things that live 2 days, they stick those minerals in, they live 4 days. If they live 6 days, they live 12 days. They've proved that in the journal Biological Trace Element Review out of the old Yugoslavia. We're fighting to take control of Africa. Bill Gates wants the minerals out of Africa. Every military satellite, every cell phone, every computer has to have those 17 rare earth minerals. China controlled 97% of the world's rare earth mineral production, and they restricted that about 1.5 years ago. They said, we're going to cut back the rare earth minerals that we sell to the world by 50%. The world went nuts when they did that. There's wars on to get these minerals. The U.S. is subsidizing 2 mines. Our military doesn't work without those minerals. None of it does. And China's been holding that ball forever because they undercut everybody and put all the mines out of business. These are the minerals that your body has to have. You know where you get scandium from? You know where you get it from? Breathe in the sun. All you got to do is breathe the sunshine, and there's minerals in the sun. Scandium. Lou took a phone call. Mr. Dixon, I want to say thank you for sending us. A patient from Texas, one of our YouTube guys, will be watching this. Lou got a call Friday. He took the PDCM and the Catalin. They took pups, split them down the middle. He just called out of the blue Friday. He said, we took pups. I gave my one Catalin, and I stuck the PDCM in it. One. He said, she's 40% bigger than her brother that her friend has. And how old is that? That's 8 weeks. She sent us a picture. He said, I did an experiment. She said, I can't believe what happened. Minerals and supplements. And one dog's 40% bigger than the other one. And that one's going to hold together a lot better than the other one. Take that PDCM, take a tablespoon. This was a dead plant. Was this the brewers? Mina Brewer and Charles Carrig. They won their garden. That's all they had to do. That plant was dead. 1 tablespoon of the minerals that I take in my shake every day. Take your garden, put it in half the garden, and leave the other half alone. Watch what happens. That's all you got to do. Simple minerals that I take, and I don't have many people doing this. You're taking Flintstones, and you're taking your Adderall and your Prozac and stuff. Ground up a Prozac, water your plant with it, and see what happens. Take your chemotherapy, stick it in the dog, and that dog is going to bite you in the leg. He's going to take a hunk out of your leg. Ron, all the stuff we did. All the stuff we did. I still take the kids to the batting cage at 55 and beat them right-handed, then left-handed, and they go home dragging the bat. We were warriors. I wasn't good in school. I sat next to the Asian kid all these years. I was an athlete. 19 years old, Ron. There's a 19-year-old 100-pound girl. Both knees are gone. Done. And by the time she's going to get one under Obamacare, they're going to give you a recycled cadaver leg before long. Well, we cleaned this one up from the crematorium. You're going to 19. I got 30 kids like this. I've been fixing all these little softball girls lately, all these little fast pitchers. I fixed one's elbow. One lady went off crying, this little 14-year-old girl, Kristen. This is for you. She went off hysterically, in hysterics, holding her elbow. These are World Series girls. She's 14 years old. Somebody said, take her to this poor chiropractor out in Novi. I said, your neck's out. You slipped a disc, C4, C5. I said, nah, her elbow hurts. I said, I didn't ask you. Well, I didn't want your opinion. I said her neck's out. But her elbow hurts. I didn't ask you your opinion. Just shut up and read your comic book. I took her. I had to adjust her neck forcefully, put her on the extensibilizer, popped it. She shed about 3 tears, pitched the championship on Saturday, and all the parents said, what did you do? I've had 6 of those kids. 2 of the catchers, 14 years old. These kids were all messed. Nobody could get adjusted right. Here's these little girls, 14 years old. I said, okay, you're the catcher, right? I said, Ma, get over here. This is the arm you catch with, nice and gliding. I said, feel this. And Ma looks at me. I said, her shoulder's half wore out. She's 14. Her shoulder's grinded. They want to play sports and they can't. They can't. Sulfur. That's your joints. Sulfur. You want to know what your joints look like? That's how much sulfur you got in you. That's chondrosamine and glucosamine is a sulfur delivery system. It takes 3 to 5 generations to get DNA to get an alcoholic gene out if you mineralize them perfectly. 3 to 5 generations to knock the booze out of the gene pool. If there's a mineral deficiency or a mineral toxicity, proper genetic expression is impossible. Folic acid fixes all kinds of abnormalities in the heart's arteries and veins. Yttrium. Yttrium, now this is important. When your bacteria is stripped, There's 2 bacteria you have to have. These are hard to find. It's on the wall at the office, bifidum and longium. If you don't have yttrium, calcium steps in to calcify your brain and your spinal cord. This is your ALS. 2 of my friends had Lou Gehrig's disease. 6 had brain cancer. I've seen some guy, Steve something, guy in my class died of MS some years ago. Yttrium, it's a trace mineral. A disturbed gut does not absorb yttrium. So calcium goes where that would have went. Then your nervous system gets calcified. You can't find yttrium in the tissue. It makes stuff happen. A disturbed colon helps you, encourage you to get neurologic diseases, ALS, Parkinson's, and MS. I got to keep moving. That's what's on the wall. There's your bifidum longium and your bifidobacterium. You have to have those to keep your spinal cord from proliferating calcium. Nobody's got this because the Roundup's killing it. Selenium wards off cancer. Now, I'm going to get to some very specific things. Each cell has to copy the one being replaced. When you're deficient, it'll grab Roundup, it'll grab cadmium, it'll grab mercury, it'll grab lead, it'll grab a similar valence than the one it needs. Tumor-suppressing genes. Every form of cancer is a child of a selenium deficiency. Methionine starts the cell, selenomethionine, which you're going to see. Sulfur ends it. You got to have your starting mineral, you got to have your finishing mineral, because if you don't have it, it keeps dividing, and then you got cancer. Minerals control this expression. A turnover of cells can take up to 7 years. Exposure to radiation, farm chemicals, starvation, pollution can so deplete nutrients. This exposure deletes all the selenium. Soil selenium. Now, if you got cancer, 2 a day. If you have a cancer history, 2 a day. I will always take that the rest of my life. It gives the starting point for my genes. Methionine is the starting point. That's the form you want. It's huge. It starts it. Sulfur ends it, and the minerals fill it in between. That was what they called muscular dystrophy in animals, white muscle disease. That was fixed years ago. They discovered that in 1958. My muscular dystrophy patients cry when I tell them this. This was already cured in Fido. They never told you, though. Arsenic. You watch the Discovery Channel, arsenic's a dirty word. No, it's not. You got to have arsenic. If you don't have enough arsenic in your body, you'll miscarry. Boys have to have arsenic. You will absolutely have a miscarriage if you don't have enough arsenic in your body. How many people have taken an arsenic pill? Well, there's arsenic in the stuff I take, and your doctor's going to laugh at it because he thinks it's stuff you kill people with on TV. Because you understand. It's the oxidation states. The selenium in that form is a -2. Selenium with a +4 and a +6 charge will kill you. Chromium, it's not the chrome on your bumper. That's the wrong form of chromium. It's the oxidation state. It's totally different. Pine needles crushed and steeped as a tea, that's what they used to do. If they thought you were carrying a boy, you didn't have enough arsenic. There's a ton of natural arsenic in pine needles. That cup would keep you from miscarrying. Tell your doctor, I need arsenic to stop the miscarriage. He's still trying to figure out what homocysteine is. Cobalt stands right in the middle here, cobalt. These 5 don't work and those 5 don't work if you don't have enough cobalt. It stands right in the middle of that. And I don't know anything about this topic. Nobody does. We're so busy playing chemicals and nonsense. This is virgin territory. This is my 33rd year. I will be either shot or passed from the scene soon. And the next generation has to take this and run with it. Chromium. Levels decrease with age, needs to be replaced daily, involved with protein, carbohydrate. Chromium. Everybody's pestering me right now, like he just did in front of you live. What are you doing? Well, about 3 months ago, when my glucose started inching up, I started pushing my insulin down. I was taking some Gymnema, some berberine, some stuff, 3 different things, 4 a day. Everybody, one patient, what are you doing? You're losing weight. What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? He just said it right in front of you, didn't he? I had 50, 60 patients. I treated myself for being insulin resistant. About 2 weeks ago, good heavens, I've lost 16 pounds. I don't get on the scale. I have no discipline. So I started shutting off my insulin resistance. I'm down 20 pounds. Since then, I pushed up my testosterone in the last 2 weeks and my growth hormone. That's something I just added because I'm going to try to get down to 175. That 199 thing on the scale, a year or so ago was stressful. That was a stressful number. Like 49, 50, 69, 70. I pushed my insulin down, my growth hormone, and now that's what I added. Man, I lost all this weight. I haven't done anything. I'm either dying of something or something good. That's what I'm doing, pushing my insulin down. I can't tell everybody to do this because I got to see what you're taking before you mess with your pituitary and your testosterone and your pancreas. This will be on the wall for the patients in the office. And I got to say something right here. How many people run a business here? How many people own their own business? Their own business. How crummy is it to own your own business right now? How bad is it? Anybody want to volunteer? It's terrible. 33 years, I'm packed. It's harder for me to support all my employees now than it was 20 years ago with more bills. I just took a $50,000 home equity loan to help cover all the bills for the office. My staff gets paid well. They got retirement and benefits. I struggle more now, 33 years into this, than I did back in the 90s with twice the bills. If you're getting information from the office, support the office. Support my staff needs to be supported because I can only pedal so far. If you're happy with what you're getting here, get your stuff from the office. It would really help out my employees so I can continue to pay them a living wage. They don't got to get a second job at Walmart. Manganese, that's what holds you together. Manganese is huge. I got to move along. Iron. I had a girl so anemic today. Remind me, Ron, I got a special story for you, and a special hockey story from my buddy here that he's going to enjoy. Just got to keep going. Sorry, I got to keep moving. Lithium. Catherine Zeta-Jones. Michelle Bachmann. If Kim sat in the room with you and gave you the talk, you understand. And you'll know everybody that's had the talk with Kim will understand this. That's a trait. Catherine Zeta-Jones never had enough, so she's been in the nut house twice. I'd put, can I tell you something special? I'd put Dr. McCullough on this. So when you look at Dr. McCullough, I can spot all you people across the room by your eyes. Every one of you I can spot. You got the 1,000-yard stare. You look just like Sarah Palin. You look like Michelle Bachmann. You look like Catherine Zeta-Jones. I can spot you look just like Dr. McCullough. That's a deficiency. And if you want to get that strange mental gene out of your family, you start taking that. It might take 2 or 3 generations, but you can take all the weirdness out of your family by starting to feed that mineral that you missed. These are my addicts. These are my people on all kinds of chemicals. Lithium is a break for your thinking. This kid comes in. He's a mess. This little kid this big came in. I have one thought in my head now. One, these people have 67 thoughts in their head. They don't know which one to act on because there's a squirrel cage in their head. That's a deficiency. Zinc. Lack of taste, smell, body odor, acne, hair loss. Men without zinc grow boobs faster. Women without zinc grow hair faster. Women will be full of testosterone if they don't have enough zinc to convert it. Men will have more estrogen. I saw some guy running down the street in Northville, holy Toledo. His boobies were just a-flopping in the wind. I'm like, look at you. Put a bra on if you're going to run like that. You're distracting everybody. They're full of estrogen. They're full of estrogen. Germanium. You got to have germanium. Ask your doctor what germanium is. They're going to say, is that a city over in Rwanda? No, it's not a city in Rwanda. It's a mineral. They don't even know what these are. What's that homocysteine thing again? I don't know. Aluminum. They give all those people losing their mind an aspirin coated with aluminum. You can find, this is out of the book. They made fun of Detroit because everybody's got too much aluminum. 4 to 7 minutes it's in your brain. 4 to 7 minutes. Lung cancer. I got to look around first before I do this next one. I don't think it here. Is everything clear, Dylan? Okay. Lung cancer. Lung cancer. Dana Reeves had lung cancer, never smoked a cigarette. I think Kim's uncle just had the lung cancer and the brain cancer. Why have one cancer when you can have two? So I'm surrounded by people with lung cancer, all kinds of lung cancer. Well, you know where it comes from? Reasons for lung cancer. Cigarette smoke inhibits the function of selenium-based proteins. Polonium toxicity caused by selenium deficiency. Small cell cancer. Had a healthy person come in recently. He juices twice a day. He does fruit juicing twice a day. He's rich. He jogs and does yoga. I juice twice a day. I jog and do yoga. And he walked in and he said, I have stage 4 lung cancer. He's retired. All he does is health stuff. And I looked at him. I said, what nationality are you? He said, I'm French-Canadian and I'm Finnish. I said, yeah, and you can't eat like that. You can't eat like that. You're not a French-Canadian, you're in a Finnish. You're trying to eat like a guy from the Bahamas. Iodine deficiency. Now pay attention to this. This is huge. An iodine deficiency, a selenium deficiency, and that's what's dropping out of the sky on you. Polonium-210. That's radiation. So when you go to the doctor, that's coming from your cigarette smoke and the air. That's what Fukushima's doing. Fukushima's leaking all over us. That thing hasn't stopped. It's sped up. You're seeing radiation-induced cancers everywhere. They don't even want to talk about this. Do you know why? Because GE owns NBC. You're not going to hear this anywhere. Splenda cripples the thymus gland. That's the wrong oxidation state. It's the wrong one. That's like chlorine in the pool. It kills your immune system, and people get all excited because they're eating Splenda. Now steady, this is the one. All my conspiracy people, you're on the air right now. I'm moving. Barium. You got to have selenium levels to get rid of the barium. People short on selenium may endure barium toxicity. Barium is one of the huge components in the chemtrails. Can I tell you guys a secret? This is a big secret. Nobody knows this. Ernie, this one's for you. This is special for you and the boys. Barium vacuums up radiation. Barium vacuums up radiation. I want to have a theory. What happens if they're dumping the barium on all of you to soak up the radiation in the air before it kills us all? Nobody knows that. Barium vacuums up radiation. Just a theory. You guys are being dumped. They said 90% of the nuclear plants are leaking. Only 90%. Fukushima is leaking like a sieve. And in Nevada, they did 129 above-down nuclear. We've nuked ourselves 129 times to find out what would happen if the Russians nuked us. Think about it. Look it up. Above-ground nuclear tests. This was where your food came from. They used to stick their finger in the air to 50, which way's the wind blowing? And somebody'd pull the trigger, and everything in Las Vegas would rattle. What was that? Another nuclear test. 130 times above ground in the United States. We didn't do this on an island. We did it right in the homeland. And everybody said, is Lindsay Lohan still out of rehab? Is she out of rehab still? I promise I won't talk about the royal baby or the Zimmerman Trayvon Martin thing. Pay attention, they're distracting you. You have to, all these genetic sequences respond to chiropractic care. We're seeing 8 to 10% of the population. You have to be properly adjusted to make it all work. And they'll tell you that for genetic sequencing. Fluorine trumps iodine. I agree with everybody. Give the patients the choice. Fluorine shuts down 72 known iodine pathways. There's many dentists that are giving you lots of alternatives. You offer it. You want this, you want that. My doctors, I said, you want shots, you don't want shots. If they ask you your opinion, tell them. Offer them all the choices. Prozac is a hunk of fluoride. It's half fluoride. Fluoxetine is fluoride. All your tranquilizers are fluoride-based. Wake up, look it up. All of them. They're fluoride-based pills. Look at, every time you see fluo this or fluo that, that's not chromium, that's fluorine. It's always been a Prozac fluoride. It's a tranquilizer. You start on Prozac, you'll have to double your thyroid medication in 60 days because it'll shut your thyroid off faster. Fluoride is used by the body in a desperate attempt to replace a great suggestion for a dentist. You got to keep your iodine up if you're around any fluorine, fluoride-based medications. Give patients a choice. Some people, they got to have it. By God, give it to them. Just let them have it. They want it, give it to them. This is what I had to get to. I'm getting there. I'm doing the best I can to finish this shortly. When Hitler sent his minions to find out, I need to control the will of the German people. So he sent his scientists out to do some research, and they did some research. And they found out that if you put 10 parts per million in the water, you'd slowly get these people to lose the ability to resist. Slowly. So they did it. Now, back in 1949, after the war was over, they're like, that was a good idea. We need to stick some fluoride in the water on the medical basis, on the military basis. You know who objected to it? There's an aircraft carrier named the USS Forrestal. Anybody heard of that? General Forrestal objected. He had strong objections. You are not going to impede the military men of the United States. You're not going to weaken their will. Oh, yes, they are. No, you're not. They put him in a mental hospital, and somehow he mysteriously went out the 40th floor window, and he splattered on the cement. They said, oh, he just committed suicide. He was the guy that tried to stop this in the military. So they just named an aircraft carrier, and somebody threw him out the window. General Forrestal. Look it up. I have to keep going as I'm getting. Don't take your iodine long enough. There's the fibroid. You should see the tumors women coming in. Most common tumor in women, caffeine toxicity with an iodine deficiency. You get potassium imbalance, you got these cysts everywhere, and then you get to go to Dr. What's-his-name, and he's going to look at that little cyst, and he's going to call the whole family together and say, you're all dying. She's dying. I don't want all this chemo and lymph. Yes, you're going to die if you don't get this. So they hold you down and hack you and burn you and fry you. And then when you die, they said, a valiant battle against cancer. Please make donations payable to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Oh, off it goes again. Lou, start the car. Do you ever notice why everybody lives near the ocean's thin? You can breathe iodine by the ocean. The middle of the country's fat, the coastlines are thin. The brain can't develop without iodine. Ask your doctor when you're pregnant, should I take iodine? Oh, you'll die if you take iodine. You'll just die. You'll be mentally retarded without enough iodine. I have to move past this. Our organic foods contain 180 times the amount of fluoride in it. Citrus fruits, 95, they're using, it's all the same thing. Sodium, aluminum, fluoride. It's a pesticide. This is what's in all your fruit. Sodium, aluminum fluoride. Sodium, aluminum fluoride. 180 times. So you eat some fruit, you're getting more fluoride than you're getting out of your tap water. It's part of the pesticide thing. Vitanox, huge. I do not miss my turmeric green tea. Why? I take 2 of those a day. There's your boron. There's your curcumin. I got a list on the wall of what I take. Ron remembers I was always sick. They couldn't fix an earache on me, so if you think I'm going to start with like a bone marrow transplant, my ear still hurts from when I was a kid. I'm not hitting the next one. As a supplement, I'm very fussy about cleaning out your guys' arteries was easy. This was easy. Larry, cleaning out you was easy. You were easy. You were easy. You were easy. All you people. This is the one I don't want to mess with. I don't want to start that free radical journey, that chemo journey. I'll do anything I can to stay away from that one. I do not want to monkey with that. And if you start doing the right thing now, it'll take you 2 to 3 years to tank your cancer rate. I have a big name in chiropractic, big all over the country. There was a Dr. Rob, I'm not going to tell you his last name because I didn't get his, he was a big name in kinesiology, George Goodhart. Everybody who's heard of George Goodhart, he was a pillar of chiropractic. Well, his right-hand man for years was Dr. Rob Blank, Birmingham. I go home one day, he's in the obituaries. First symptom to dead, 3 months, pancreatic cancer, done, 59 years old. And me and him were the big names in this state for years. And nobody, he just disappeared from practice and croaked. He played everything but his pancreas. And that's what killed him, pancreatic cancer. Red beets. I don't like beets. Eat beets. It helps repair your DNA. Methionine. Study the beet. A lot of cool things in the beet. Benzene, Mountain Dew. A lot of pops are full of benzoic acid. Some of these benzene. Shears off 2 chromosomes. You get multiple myeloma and lymphoma. I'm just about done. My supplement protocol that I personally take, all this stuff, I stick that in my, I take my trace minerals, I take a splash of that, I rotate my minerals around. The office will help you with that. You know, when the patients are in, our lectures are on YouTube. Now my short little, let me take a 1-minute story that I want to talk to my friend Ron for a second in front of you. I'm going to make a public apology to Roger. Roger, a week ago Monday, I play hockey in Farmington, and I was out in the ice, and the puck came up the middle, and I had my head down. Roger had his head down, and I hit this poor guy so hard, I knocked him out. He was spread eagle on the ice. I thought he was dead. I didn't feel him. I went through him. And he was gone. And he sat up, and he did this. And he's sitting doing this. And then he stood up, and he started roughing, roughing, roughing. And the ref came over and said, you both had your heads down. You lost. I want a penalty. So then I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the penalty. So Monday, my game Monday annihilated him. I've done this to 5 guys in the league. I am not a goon. So Monday, my game Monday, I had the last game. 2 guys skated up to me. I'm playing a different team. I heard you creamed Roger. I said, I didn't cream Roger. I hit his head down. And Joe, the tough guy in the league, Joe Dompierre, comes up and says, don't hurt me. Whatever you do, don't hurt me. I don't want you to hurt me. And Ron knows I'm a happy athlete. I had to explain to them. I've spent 35 years on a trampoline. Raise your kid on a trampoline. Don't run into me on the ice. My minerals are tight, and I'm going to waste you. And I've wasted 5 guys in this league. The last guy, I was going on a breakaway. This coach skated over. He was about this big. And I went through him. And all of a sudden, he sucker punches me from behind. Boom! And the ref skated over. I love these refs. We have good refs. He said, you got in his road, and you lost. Get over it. 5 times. Bill was the problem. I nailed Bill because he got in the road, because these big defensemen get in the road, and you go through them. You shake hands at the end of the game. I didn't apologize to Bill, which I should have. For 2 years, I got to play this. We have a 50-game season. Shaking hands with him. 2 years he slapped my hand until I played with him when he realized I haven't had malicious intent. My son's going motocross riding to Romania tomorrow. The fathers have said to me, your kid has better balance and he's sturdier than my kid. Why? I said, raise your kids on a trampoline. You'll be toned and tight. It has paid for itself 10,000 times in hockey. If I have my balance, Roger skated by, and this guy was your size, a little taller. And later in the game, he realized I wasn't trying to kill him. His team had to calm him down. He skated by and said, you need to lose weight. I said, I just lost 16 pounds. I said, if I had 16 pounds up, you'd have been dead. When I tell people to Jenkinson's, they're going to like this. They go to, I think, Holly Adventist School up in Holly. They had the Little Olympics, 40 kids. Their kids were 1, 2, and 3. She said it was embarrassing to watch. And every time I tell somebody, my pediatrician said, you can't have a trampoline, it's terrible. I said, for Pete's sakes. Then he says, come on up, I got 3 shots for you right now. Raise your kids on a trampoline. It has helped me stay toned with my mineral support. I spent 3 hours on a trampoline total, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have a 14-foot in the backyard. That's my exercise. That's all I do. And when I've been able to stay toned at 55 and compete with, I'm playing on a team over 30, and there's 3 kids on each team, 22, 23, 24. The trampoline makes all the difference in the world, and I'm apologizing people for creaming them all the time because they got in the way. I am not that kind of a player. So I'm telling you, the ultimate perfect coordinating exercise for you. I would be on that trampoline, and I would be, and if I teach the pros to do this. And if you're a pitcher, you're going to throw a 5-pound weight while you're bouncing. If you're a tennis player, you're going to swing the tennis racket weighted. You tone it to what you're trying to do. And it's a perfect exercise for you guys. And it's kind of funny that this Roger thing turned into a big thing. I said, does he understand I wasn't trying to kill him? He didn't even rattle a shoelace. I swear I ended up in his spine somewhere. I didn't feel him. Stay on the trampoline, stay in shape, keep your minerals so that you can divide your cells properly. There's my friend that we played sports with, and we didn't have these injuries at 50 that the kids have today at 19. So I want to thank you all for coming. I expect to have a strange lecture at Christmas as I come through all these weird stories. I want to thank Dr. Simone for coming. The new video crew, did you get all this? You sure? If you didn't get all this, Lou's going to start starting your car. Thanks for everything. I will see you next time.